Hari Om. We are currently discussing Module 3 in C# and .NET programming course. It is dealing with object-oriented aspects of C#. These are the topics covered in Module 3, out of which in our previous videos we have covered classes, members, etc. up to properties and indexes. Today in this video we will be talking about what is polymorphism, and some of the example programs will also be discussed. Polymorphism, you have already covered polymorphism both in C++ and Java programming. We will be discussing again what is polymorphism, and some simple example programs also will be discussed in this video. Polymorphism is one of the core principles of object-oriented programming. The three core principles are encapsulation, polymorphism and inheritance. Encapsulation, already we have discussed how to handle encapsulation using properties, indexes, data hiding, etc. in our previous videos. This video is talking about the next core principle, which is polymorphism. Polymorphism is a Greek word that means multiple forms, or you can say it is many shaped or many forms. So polymorphism means ability to take more than one form. Now if you take polymorphism in a programming language, there are two types of polymorphism. One is called as compile time polymorphism. The other one is known as runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism is also called as early binding or overloading or static binding, whereas runtime polymorphism is otherwise called as late binding, overriding or dynamic binding. These are the other terms given for these two types. When you take polymorphism, you have two types. One is a compile time polymorphism, runtime polymorphism. Compile time is otherwise called as static, runtime is otherwise called as dynamic. In the same way, the polymorphism can also be said as operation polymorphism or inclusion polymorphism. The static binding or compile time polymorphism is known as operation polymorphism. The dynamic or runtime polymorphism is known as inclusion polymorphism. Please note, the static or compile time polymorphism is operation polymorphism. Dynamic or runtime is inclusion polymorphism. Now if you see these polymorphism, the static or operation polymorphism is achieved through method overloading and operator overloading, whereas the inclusion polymorphism or the runtime polymorphism is achieved through virtual methods or overriding methods. So this is how the polymorphism is implemented in any programming language. So to implement static or compile time polymorphism, we use method overloading or operator overloading. Method overloading or operator overloading. To implement dynamic polymorphism, we use virtual or overriding methods. We have already seen when we talked about classes and objects, by the time how methods can be declared and how methods can be overloaded. All those things we have discussed earlier, but still we will be discussing an example for method overloading as well as operator overloading in this video. Again, to get into the details of compile time polymorphism, to achieve compile time polymorphism or to implement compile time polymorphism, we can declare methods with the same name but with different signatures. When I say signature, the number of parameters or the different types of parameters will be called as the signature of the method. Now When you declare methods with same name but different signatures, they can perform different tasks also with the same method name. That is also implemented in compile time polymorphism. And this polymorphism is otherwise known as early binding, static linking, operation polymorphism, or method overloading. These are the other terms given for compile time polymorphism. The compile time or operation polymorphism is achieved through method overloading and operator overloading. As method and its signature are known at the time of compilation itself, the compiler can select the method to the object at compile time. That is why we call it as compile time polymorphism. And multiple methods with the same name are created here in the compile time polymorphism. Multiple methods, that means more than one methods with the same name are created here. Early binding, we term the operation polymorphism as early binding. Why it is called early binding is an object is bound to its method call at the compile time itself. So during the compilation process itself, an object will be bound to its method call. That is why we call it as early binding. Whereas in the runtime polymorphism, the binding happens only during the execution, not at the compilation. Here, the binding of the object with the method call happens at the compilation time itself. So we call it as early binding. And when an object makes a method call, the method that matches the calling signature will be invoked. So during the compilation itself, it checks when a method is invoked to which particular method it is matching, to which particular method definition the calling is matching will be understood by the compiler. Then it goes for binding. So whenever an object makes a method call, when you invoke a method by an object name, the method that matches the calling signature will be automatically invoked. This is an example of method overloading, which you might have already experienced in all the other programming languages, and also in our earlier example we have seen what is method overloading. So I am going to just browse through this example, then we will switch to the operator overloading. Here in this example I am declaring a class and I am declaring two methods in that particular class, and you can observe here the method names are same. For both the methods I am using the same name, but the arguments differ. This is what we call as the signature. Here I am having only 2 integers, whereas here I am having 3 integers. So the signatures are different, but the method names are same. Now if I want to invoke this particular method, you can give the method name, then pass 2 arguments. Give the method name, then pass 3 arguments. So when there is a method call with 2 arguments, the compiler will be binding it to this particular method. When there is a method call with 3 arguments, the compiler will bind it to this particular method. That is how it works. And this is a full example given here. I declare a class called as demo class, and I am having an add method. I am having second add method here. In the first add method I am having 3 integers as arguments, and here I have only 2 strings as the arguments. So obviously the signatures are varying. There are different signatures with the same name. And we have also seen one more point here. It says that I can have different tasks with the same method name. You can see in this example, here I am adding 3 integers, but here I am concatenating two strings. So the task performed by these two methods are also different. Signatures are also different, but it is having same method name. Let us see how these methods are invoked here. So in the main program, what I have done, I have created a object of this particular class, and the class object invokes the add method by passing 3 integer arguments. Here again it invokes the add method by passing 2 string arguments. So when I invoke this method, automatically the compiler will binding it with this particular method definition. When I invoke this method, automatically the compiler will be binding it to this particular method. As the method name and signatures are known during the compilation time itself, it can easily bind it in the compilation process. That is why we call it as compile time polymorphism or early binding. So this is method overloading is one way of achieving operation polymorphism or compile time polymorphism. Now another example that says the operation polymorphism can also be achieved using operator overloading. So this is an example for operator overloading. We will be seeing the same program again, the full program in the terminal. So I will just explain what is this program segment all about. I am having an integer array. Declared, and if I want to negate the integer array, generally what we do, we will be writing a code for negating each and every element, and we will be using a method for that. So instead of using a method name, what I have done, the unary minus and the binary plus I have used for, instead of writing a method, I am using these operators which are already defined in C#. That is why I am overloading the operator to perform a particular task as you do in a method. That is why we call it as operator overloading. These are some of the operators which are already defined in C#, and I am going to overload them. What do you mean by overloading? I am going to add another task for that particular operator. So what I have done here, I have declared an integer array in a class called integer array, and when I use this negation operator, each element of the array will be taken and it will be negated, and I create a new integer array with the negated elements. The same way for the operator plus, I am passing two integer array parameters. I add these array elements, A1 array elements are added with A2 array elements, and I am creating a new integer array called ARR. Then I am going to return it. So when I declare these two kinds of operator overloaded methods, observe here how I am invoking them. In the earlier example, we invoke the methods by using the method name, but here I am going to invoke these methods. I am going to invoke method 1 and method 2 using the operator itself. So if I say y is equal to minus x, the minus x will be invoking this method, x plus y will be invoking this particular method. That is how operator overloading will be achieved in C# programming. Let us see this example, the complete program we will see, then we will get into the next topic, runtime polymorphism. So let me go to the terminal. Let me open the program. I am going to open the operator overloading demo program. This is the program I have declared. I have the namespace using Then I am going to declare a class called as integer array. The data members are, an integer array is a data member and the size of the array is another data member. Then I have a constructor declared. I am passing the size as an argument and that value will be assigned to the size of an array and a new array will be created. And observe here, this will be just declaring an array and here you are creating memory locations for that particular array. So this is what you do in the constructor. So the constructor will be creating an array of passed size in that particular constructor method. Then I have a read method. As usual, read method is generally used for reading the elements of the array. So I am going to read the elements from 0 to size of the array. I am reading it from the console and I convert it to integer. I store it in the array element. Another method I am having print array, which is used for printing the array integer array elements. I just use the for each loop and I am taking each element from the array A. Array A is the data member. Array A is the data member. From that I take each element and I am going to display that particular element. That's it. Now these are the two operator overloaded which we have seen in the slide. So you have operator minus, which is the unary operator. What I am going to do, whatever element is passed here, whatever object is passed here, the object elements will be negated. A1 is an object passed. So I take A1 dot A of I. A of I is the array element, right? For the integer array object A1, there will be a member A of A, which is an integer array. This element will be negated by multiplying it with -1 and you store it in a new array object. ARR is a new object I am creating. Take this argument element, negate it, then store it in the new array object. Then this value will be returned here. In the same way, for the binary operator plus, I am passing two array objects A1 and A2. Then you are going to check whether the size of these two arrays are equal. If they are not equal, you just return saying that it is unable to add and it will be returning a null value. Otherwise, if the sizes are equal, you are going to create a new array. Then add the elements of A1 with A2. Add the elements of A1 with the elements of A2. Store it in the new array. Then you return that particular array. So this is what we do in this particular program. Then in the main program, what you are going to do, you can create an object, new object of size 5 and you can read that particular array. Then you can go for printing that particular array. Then when I want to create a negated element of x, what I have done, I have simply said y is equal to -x. So all the elements of x array will be negated. That will be stored as the elements of object y. As the element of object y. Then I just print the y value. Then I am just trying for binary operator. Whatever x value and y value I have, I am adding them. So x is the original value, y is the negated value. So when you say x plus y, automatically z value should be 0. Let us see what is the z value printed, whether it is printing 0, 0, 0. Let us see in the output. Then what I have done, I have created another new array called as w with again 5 elements. I am reading w, I am printing w. Then again I invoke the plus operator. I am printing the result of z in using the print array method. So let us see what happens when I execute this particular program. I have this program. I can compile this program. No errors. I go and execute this program. So I am going to create the array A. When I am creating the array, I am going to read the elements of array X. Let us say I am entering values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 elements I have to enter. Then once I have entered, it goes for printing the array elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the array elements. Then I am going to negate these array elements and store it in Y. That is the next statement. When I try printing array elements Y, it is negating all these values. So you get minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. Then what I have done, I have said Z is equal to X plus Y. So this array and this array will be added. So you get Z value as 0, 0, 0. Then what I have done, I have created another array called W. I have to read the array value. So X and W I want to add for Z. So let us give the values of W as 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. These are the 5 values I am giving for W array, and you can see it is printing the W array. Then it is adding X and Y. X is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. W is what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And these two arrays are added and I get the result 11, 22, 33, 44 and 55. So this we are achieving here using the overloaded operator. Now this example shows you how a unary operator can be overloaded, how a binary operator can be overloaded. So when you overload unary operator, I am passing only one argument of that particular class, the same class. When I use binary operator to overload, I am having two arguments because X plus Y. Binary operator, you will have a left operand and right operand. So this becomes the first operand, this becomes the second operand. So this is how we achieve compile time polymorphism using operator overloading. So this is what we have seen now. So in the method overloading, we have same name with different signature and different tasks to be performed. In the operator overloading, the predefined operators of C# are overloaded for the class objects to perform different tasks. Now the operator overloading we will be discussing in detail in another video. What are the overloadable operators, what are the non-overloadable operators, how you can achieve unary operators to be overloaded, binary operators to be overloaded, what are the features of operator overloading, everything we will be discussing in another video. For the time being, just to understand compile time polymorphism, how it is achieved through operator overloading, I have taken this particular example. Now another polymorphism is called as runtime polymorphism, the second type of polymorphism. So your runtime polymorphism is also called as late binding. Compile time compile time is early binding. Now this is late binding. There it is static binding, here it is dynamic binding. There in compile time polymorphism it was method overloading, but here for runtime it is method overriding. There it is called as operation polymorphism, here we call it as inclusion polymorphism. There we call it as static polymorphism, but here it is dynamic polymorphism. These are the other terms used for runtime polymorphism. Now here what happens in the runtime polymorphism, we will have same method names but with same signatures. This is the first point you have to note for the compile time and runtime polymorphism. In the compile time polymorphism, same method name with different signatures and different tasks to be performed. But for runtime polymorphism, it is same method name with same signature but with different tasks to be performed. That is very important point to be noted under polymorphism. Then this is achieved overriding a method in the base class by creating similar method in the derived class. So obviously the runtime polymorphism concept is coming under inheritance principle. Inheritance is another important core principle of C# programming. We will be discussing inheritance also. Only after discussing inheritance we will talk about the runtime polymorphism example programs. So here you have to keep it in mind. Runtime polymorphism is achieved through overriding a method in the base class by creating similar methods in the derived class. So this can be achieved by using inheritance principle and using virtual and override keywords. And here the decision on which method to call is delayed until runtime. What happens in the compile time polymorphism? Whenever there is a method call, immediately the compiler will bind it to the signature that is matching with the method call. But here the matching will be done, or the matching will be delayed until the runtime. That is why we call it as runtime polymorphism. So the selection of methods will be done here at runtime, whereas in compile time polymorphism, selection of method will be done at the compile time itself. That is the basic difference between compile time and runtime polymorphism. So two important difference between compile time and runtime. One is in the compile time polymorphism, same method name with different signatures and different tasks to be performed. But in runtime polymorphism, same method names with same signatures but the task may be different. And another very important difference we have seen here, selection of method is done at runtime here, whereas in compile time polymorphism, selection of method will be done at the compilation time itself. So let us see an example program in the next video only after discussing what is inheritance. So next video will talk about inheritance. Then we will talk about how method overriding is done to achieve runtime polymorphism. Thank you.